What if everything you've ever been told about spiritual progress is unnecessary? No complex meditation systems, no rituals, no years of struggle to become better. Just one single question. A question so simple, it looks almost meaningless. Yet those who truly followed it say it dissolves the very sense of you. Ramana Maharshi didn't give thousands of teachings. He didn't build a system. He didn't ask you to become anything. He simply asked, "Who am I?" And then he stopped speaking. Because, according to him, that question alone is enough to end the illusion of suffering. But here is the strange part. Almost everyone hears this question and completely misunderstands it. So what did he actually mean? And why do those who sincerely follow it report something that feels like the mind itself collapsing? Stay with this carefully, because if you misunderstand this, it becomes philosophy. But if you understand it deeply, it becomes something else entirely. When Ramana Maharshi was young, something unusual happened. He was not seeking spiritual knowledge in the way most people do. There was no long search for answers in books, no gradual accumulation of teachings. Instead, something very direct occurred. One day, he suddenly became overwhelmed by a fear of death. Not philosophical fear, but a raw, immediate certainty, I am going to die. And instead of reacting outwardly, he turned inward. He lay down and asked a radical question. If the body dies, what remains? He did something extremely unusual. He did not analyze it. He did not theorize. He simply investigated it inwardly. He observed, the body will die, the breath will stop, the thoughts will fade, the emotions will disappear. But something inside remained aware of all of this. And then came the turning point. He asked, who is aware of this? And everything shifted. Not conceptually, but experientially. Something in him detached from identification with body and mind. From that moment, he later said, there was no more seeking in the ordinary sense, only presence. But here is where most people get stuck. They hear this story and think, oh, I should ask myself the same question. So they repeat it mentally, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? But Ramana warned, this is not a mantra. This is not repetition. This is not intellectual analysis. It is a turning of attention inward to its source. And that distinction changes everything. Because here is the uncomfortable truth. You might have already asked, who am I? 1,000 times, and never once actually done what he meant. So what did he really mean? Let's go deeper. The mind is built to answer questions. If you ask, what is my name? It responds. Where do I live? It responds. What do I want in life? It responds. But when you ask, who am I? Something strange happens. Every answer that appears is observed. You might say, I am a person, but then you notice that thought, so you are not the thought. You might say, I am the body, but then you notice the body, so you are not the body either. You might say, I am my emotions, but emotions come and go, so you are not them. You might say, I am my thoughts, but thoughts appear and disappear. So what exactly are you? This is where Ramana's teaching becomes radical. He is not giving you another belief. He is systematically removing every identification you take as self. Not by rejection, but by simple observation. And here is the key point. The question is not meant to produce an answer. It is meant to expose the failure of all answers. Because every answer is an object, and anything you can observe cannot be you. So if everything you can think of is not you, then what are you when you are not thinking? Normally, attention flows outward. You look at the world, you look at people, you look at problems. Even when you think inwardly, you are still looking at thoughts. Ramana's instruction is different. He is not asking you to analyze thoughts. He is asking you to turn attention back toward the source of attention itself, not what is seen, but the one who sees, not what is experienced, but the one who experiences. This is where language starts to fail, because the mind wants something to grasp, but what he points to cannot be grasped as an object. It is the awareness prior to all objects. So instead of answering, "Who am I?" you begin to notice something subtle. Every time a thought arises, there is also a sense of "I am aware." Now turn toward that sense itself, not the story, not the label, just the bare feeling of being aware. Stay with it. And something unusual happens. The question begins to dissolve the questioner. But here is the part almost nobody is prepared for. When the I begins to dissolve, what is left behind is not emptiness, but something completely undeniable. Many people misunderstand this teaching because they expect a blank mind. But Ramana was not describing blankness. He was pointing to something alive, awake, and fully present, even when thoughts disappear. He called it the self. But he also said, you cannot make it appear because it is already there, like space inside a room. You do not create space, you only notice that everything appears inside it. In the same way, thoughts, emotions, sensations, identity, all appear within awareness. But awareness itself is not an object. It is what you already are. So the question, "Who am I?" is not a question to be answered. It is a tool that removes everything you are not, until only that remains which cannot be removed. And here is where the teaching becomes even more radical. Because Ramana Maharshi says something almost shocking. There is no need to reach enlightenment. There is nothing to achieve, only something to stop doing. But what exactly are you doing that hides it? And why does it feel so impossible to stop? As attention turns inward, something subtle begins to shift. The sense of being a separate thinker becomes unstable. Thoughts still arise, but the ownership weakens. I am thinking becomes unclear. There is just thinking happening. Sensations arise, but I am the body becomes less convincing. There is just sensation. The I is not destroyed. It is simply not found. And what is not found consistently loses authority. But here is the paradox. What disappears is not consciousness. It is only the illusion of separation inside it. Many people fear emptiness, but this is not emptiness in the normal sense. It is clarity without center, awareness without ownership, experience without a controller. Ramana described it as the self, but he also insisted it is not something new, it is what you already are. Before any thought of me appears, there is already presence. That presence does not arrive. It does not leave. It simply is. And now the final shock? There was never a path to it at all, only distraction from it. The idea of a path implies distance, but distance only exists in thought. In direct experience, there is only this. Not you experiencing it, but experience itself. So when Ramana says, "Who am I?" he is not giving a method. He is removing every false destination, until what remains cannot be questioned, because it is what is aware of the question. And even now, it has never left, not for a single moment. So the real question was never, how do I reach enlightenment? It was always, what is here before I think I am someone? And that is where the question ends. Most spiritual effort is based on improvement. Be calmer, be more aware, be more mindful. But Ramana's teaching cuts deeper. The one trying to improve is the problem, because it assumes separation already exists. So when you try to become aware, you are reinforcing the illusion of someone who is not aware. This is why effort eventually becomes frustrating, because effort strengthens the very identity it is trying to dissolve. So what remains? Not effort, not suppression, but simple noticing, awareness aware of itself.